Management of natural resources. Natural resources. Major natural resources like forests, wildlife, water, coal and petroleum need to be managed efficiently. Management of natural resources means how these resources are to be managed for sustainable development. Let us take an example for the protection of the river Ganga. In 1985, Ganga Action Plan was set up by the Government of India as quality water becomes very poor. Water of the Ganga polluted due to the presence of coliform bacteria. Ganga is also polluted due to the discharge of garbage from the towns along its way in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal. Let us discuss some major steps that manage and protect our natural resources. Management of natural resources. Reduce, recycle and reuse. Natural resources can be managed by reduce, recycle and reuse, commonly referred to as 3 R's. Reduce means that you use less. Some examples are as follows. You can save electricity by switching off unnecessary lights and fans. Similarly, you can also save water by repairing the leaky taps. Recycle means household garbage like plastic, paper, glass and metal items can be used to make required things. This process is called as recycling. Reuse is better than recycling. Reuse means things can be used again and again. Instead of throwing away used envelopes, you can reverse it and use it again. Similarly, use the plastic bottles for storing other things. These environmental conservation steps are linked with economic development. Forests as wildlife. Stakeholders. The biodiversity of an area is the number of species found there. Conservation means preservation of the biodiversity. We all use various forest products. For the conservation of the forest, major stakeholders are as follows. The people who live in or around the forest are dependent on forest products for various aspects of their life. The Forest Department of the government, which owns the land and controls the resources from forests. Generally, they depend upon forest for firewood, small timber, bamboo, gathering fruits and nuts and medicines from the forests. The conservationists were initially taken up with large animals like lions, tigers, elephants and rhinoceros. They now recognize the need to preserve biodiversity as a whole. We need to use and preserve these resources with due care for our economic and social growth. Forests as wildlife. Sustainable management. Let us discuss some sustainable management for the conservation of the forest. The Chipko Andolan, Hug the Trees movement, was the result of a grassroots level effort to end the alienation of people from their forests. The movement originated from a remote village called Reni in Garhwal, high up in the Himalayas during the early 1970s. In 1972, the West Bengal Forest Department recognized its failure in reviving the degraded sal forests in the southwestern districts of the state. Forest and land-related conflicts in the region were also a major factor in fueling the militant peasant movements led by Naxalites. Conservation of water resources. Dams. Water is a basic necessity for all terrestrial forms of life. We get water mainly from rain. Thus, for future use, we should collect and store water. Let us discuss major steps for conservation of water resources for irrigation and other household uses. Large dams can ensure the storage of adequate water not just for irrigation but also for generating electricity. Canal systems leading from these dams can transfer large amounts of water at the greater distances for agriculture and industrial use. In Rajasthan, the Indira Gandhi Canal has brought greenery. Conservation of water resources. Opposition for dams. There is also opposition to the construction of large dams such as the Tehri Dam on the river Ganga and Narmada Bachao Andolan. Criticism about the large dams address three problems. Social problems, because they displace large number of peasants and tribals without adequate compensation or rehabilitation. Economic problem, because they swallow up huge amounts of public money without the generation of proportionate benefits. And environmental problems, because they contribute enormously to deforestation and the loss of biological diversity. Management of coal and petroleum. Another important resource is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels includes coal and petroleum. Coal and petroleum were formed by the degradation of biomass millions of years ago, and hence these are the resources that will be exhausted in the future. The major constituents of coal and petroleum are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen and sulfur. When these are burnt, the products are carbon dioxide, water, oxides of nitrogen and oxides of sulfur. When combustion takes place in insufficient air or oxygen, then carbon monoxide is formed instead of carbon dioxide. If all of this carbon is converted to carbon dioxide, then the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is going to increase, leading to intense global warming. Thus, we need to manage coal and petroleum resources efficiently. It is expected that people will act with their own best interests as the priority. Going beyond laws, rules and regulations, we need to modify our requirements individually and collectively. Water harvesting. Watershed management not only increases the production and income of the watershed community, but also mitigates droughts and floods and increases the life of the downstream dam and reservoirs. Khadins, tanks and nadis in Rajasthan, Bandharas and Tals in Maharashtra, Bandhisin, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, Ahars and pines in Bihar, Kuls in Himachal Pradesh, ponds in the Kandi belt of Jammu region, and iris or tanks in Tamil Nadu, surangams in Kerala, and katas in Karnataka are some of the ancient water harvesting. Water harvesting techniques are highly local specific and the benefits are also localized. Water harvesting structures are mainly crescent-shaped earthen embankments or low, straight concrete and rubble check dams built across seasonally flooded gullies. Monsoon rains fill the ponds behind the structures. The advantages of water stored in the ground are, it does not evaporate but spreads out to the recharge well. It does not provide breeding ground for mosquitoes. Groundwater is also relatively protected from contamination by human and animal waste.